to Lisa's Pine Notes. My name is Lisa, and if you watched my previous video, you will now know that I am a knitter. I am so happy to be bringing you my first color work pattern called Surrounded by Love. And if you want to hear that story, please go to my previous video. I'll also link it below. Now, with that said, all of you out there hopefully know that I am a crocheter, and I learned to knit approximately 6 months ago, and I'm a Continental Knitter. So the instructions in this video and my how-to are going to be based solely on Continental knitting. Being new, I thought we could learn together. Also, this video for this pattern is only going to show you how to do the color work. You should already know, and this is mentioned in my paid for pattern, which is also linked below over on my Ravelry page. You should already have made a knit beanie. This is in our size 4 medium weight yarn. I happen to be using Chic Sheep by Marley Bird from Red Heart. It is an absolute gorgeous yarn to work with. I highly recommend it. But the instructional piece of this video will be just using 2 colors because we're going to keep it real simple. And if you want to know my colors, head over to Ravelry. You can look up each and every one of these fun colors because Marley has such an imagination. She named all of them with very unique names. Now, the supplies you will need to do this pattern are recommended. You can use any size 4 weight yarn that you have. You will need stitch markers to mark the places of each of these hearts. I highly recommend keeping a crochet hook handy in case you drop a stitch. Pair of scissors, although I'm going to tell you right now, we're not cutting any of these colors when we go around. We're going to carry our yarn. And then I'm going to recommend, because this was such a helpful tool for me, is to invest in good knitting needles. I'm going to link the name. These are Choo-Choo, I believe, name brand, and they're ergonomically correct. They help your hand, they hold nicely, but most of all, what I love to use these for is it helps your floats. So if you turn your hat inside out, it's just as beautiful on the back as it is on the front, and you can see the reversed hearts on that other side. I would sincerely wear this both ways. But again, if you want to see my inspiration and why I started knitting, please visit my previous video. Other than that, go get the pattern, your supplies, and join me back here. Right, you've joined me back here, and hopefully you've gotten your pattern, your supplies, and you started off with 86 in the total round. And again, we're making an average size, small to average size woman's hat. These are 4.5. All the instructions are in the pattern. And you're going to make one now. But I thought it'd be interesting why I'm starting here before the color work. As mentioned in the introduction, we're only going to go through bits and pieces of this pattern. This is not a video for the entire thing. You should have knowledge and know how to do a basic beanie before you begin to be successful here, because I want everybody to be successful. Now, being a Continental knitter simply means I throw my yarn with my left hand. Now, funny story is I also golf left. I use my computer mouse at work with my left hand. More often than not, I will tie a knot backwards, which amazes my husband, with my left hand without thinking about it. So I can, for the most part, use my left hand outside of knitting, but wow, many people have tried to teach me knitting in the past, and I can tell you They were unsuccessful because they didn't know that at heart I was a crocheter, and it didn't click until I made my left hand the numero uno in my knitting. So what you're watching is Continental Knitting. It's all I know how to knit. And if it looks a little bit different, that's okay, because we are all so unique in our ways, our equalities out there, and just do what you love and know how. There's no wrong way, alright? So I've come up to a point where I need to make one. This is the number one thing you needed to do right after this stitch. I'm going to tell you right now, I was in a rush to get this done, so I only have 84 stitches. You should have 86 according to my pattern, but hey, that's no problem. I just get to show you one more or two more times how to increase. So to make one, you are using that bar in between your stitches right here to simply scoop in, pull up a loop, and put it back on. You've just increased one here. Now with Continental Knitting, as you know, you scoop from the back and flick it off. So I'm going to continue doing another couple here. And sorry if you can hear that airplane out there. We are straight knitting at this point. You're not ribbing anymore. And again, we're going to come to a point where we need to knit one. Alright, to make one, use that bar from your previous roll, go underneath it, scoop some yarn up, put it on the hook, tighten it just slightly, and then knit through the back of it and continue on. Now if you have a favorite way of making one, absolutely use it. Just because I'm giving you a basic recipe to make a hat doesn't mean you don't add extra salt and pepper, or maybe hold the salt on your particular recipe for this hat. So creativity, if you ever see my Instagram page, and please go follow me over there. That's where I talk the most. It's where I am daily. I'll link it below for you, or you can hit the links below. Absolutely. It's a recipe. It's not a set and die for pattern. Like I said, we're all human. We're going to make mistakes. I accidentally did 84. I was probably talking or thinking about my last video I did, because I take notes on that, and trying to multitask, which always doesn't work when you're trying to do a sample for here. So I'm going to continue on, and we're going to go all the way around. I like to keep a stitch marker at my beginning in a different color, just so I know at a glance where I'm at and how many stitches I need to do. Now we can talk about sizing in another video, but because we're making a small to medium, which happens to fit my head, we are doing 90. Why we are making one is because I need 90 stitches all the way around to get 10 hearts. My heart pattern happens to be 9 stitches across. That's a blank, the pattern, and a blank. So that is why we want 90. Now of course you can figure out the math and increase it 1 heart, or for a larger head, I'd like to say. Of course, this is an easy pattern because we're going to be knitting straight up a tube, in a tube style. So from here to here, you're not going to change your stitches until you get to the last heart color. And after that, your 2 rows after that, you start decreasing. So it's very, very straightforward. It is a cinched together top. We're not going to mess around with any DPNs or anything like that, because I want it to be a beginner pattern, a beginner color work. And again, I want to show you more examples of Continental knitting out there. So just did my last make one. I'm going to finish this up and be right back. And welcome back. Now, following the pattern, you've finished increasing down here right after the rib, and you did your 2 rows. So 2 rows total of just plain knit stitch. That is part of the pattern, is the 2 rows before we begin our color work. You have a little bit of your second color ready to go, and mine is right here. My red is behind me simply because of my limited space, but I hope to show you some helpful tricks in doing some of your first color work. Now, not only because I'm talking to you, also to help me concentrate, I need to place stitch markers according to the pattern where I need to add my first little V of color. So I went ahead and went all the way around using the light bulb shape stitch markers on my last row and marked the place settings I need according to the pattern. So if you can count, that's fine. It's just because I'm talking to you and demonstrating that I needed a little helpful hint to go ahead. Again, we're starting, this is just my beginning marker, so I know the beginning. A lot of you may use the tail end of that, but as we grow our heart, I keep saying that, as we grow our hearts and our hat, we will lose sight of that easily. So I'm going to go ahead and Continental knit all the way up to my first stitch marker. Now, how you run your stitch markers or count, that's fine, but I'm going to go ahead. Once I have the color in place, I no longer need that, so I will discard it. And now, how I do color work is simply hold the yarn and knit it in. It's that easy. You want to leave a nice long tail to sew in, but you're just going to pretend to knit with it. So insert your hook. Again, we're Continental knitting, so it is through the back. Make a loop right over that needle and bring it up. Now, what I like to do is hold my color, no matter what color it is you picked, with my right hand, and keep my main color in my main hand, which for Continental knitting is the left. So again, we're just going to knit all the way over to my next stitch marker. We're going to discard that stitch marker. Here we are. I'm going to continue holding that, but I'm also going to pick up that yarn. Very difficult to do with a camera in front of you. And you're simply going to knit the little point of the heart, transfer that back to gently hold, and continue knitting. We'll do one more together before I take it around, which you will do by yourselves. And again, come up to your stitch marker or count. I'm going to discard it. And I'm simply going to bring that yarn back around, knit my color in, and there you go. The #1 reason I wanted you to learn with ergonomically correct hooks is this will help your floats on back. See how it's a nice circle shape? It will help hold them loosely but evenly around as you knit. So I just wanted you to see why I highly recommend you get ergonomically correct hooks. So I'm going to continue on adding our first color bit down here. You meet me back here when you're done all the way around as well. Alright, the next portion of the color work will also be our last, because I think that's really all the guidance that you need to make a simple heart. Now I went ahead and went to all the way around. Here's my beginning stitch, you know I marked that. here's my floats right inside here. Now what we're going to do is follow the pattern and make the heart according to the graph. There is a little Excel graph, and you're just going to repeat that all the way around to make your heart pattern. It is so simple and so easy. I was amazed when I figured out how easy this can be with just a couple of these little tricks and tips. Now again, we're adding color, so with your other color yarn, go ahead and do 3. Again, the pattern is over for sale on my Ravelry, and this is our first set. That's the point of our heart. Again, I gently hold that other color yarn. The other thing I do want to mention is when I'm switching colors, whatever the color I'm working with, I want that color to be on the top and back. And if that makes sense, if you flip around right now, this red is floating on top, but as soon as I need to change it to the black color, I drop it, let it fall to the bottom, then bring this up on top, if that makes sense, and then that is your color. And see, the red is hanging down below. So if that helps you with your color work, keeping the color that you're working with on the top and in your hand, then hopefully that's another helpful tip. Again, we're only using 2 colors in this sample. You can use as many colors as you want. Absolutely, up to you. This is where color work and creativity become fun. Use the tools that you have. Use your stitch markers. Again, once you have the point of your heart in, you're just increasing 1 on each side according to the graph that I made. And it's that easy. You're going to knit straight up in a tube. Here's our other color here. And I hope you enjoy this pattern. Give me a note or a thumbs up. Again, when you purchase a pattern, you help support a small business. You help support me getting my teaching license in knitting. You know I am a Craft Yarn Council CIP. I am certified to teach crochet, and I would love to get my certification to teach knitting as well, keeping our treasures alive for generations to come and passing on our heritage, much like my grandmother's to me. It skipped a generation in between there, but that's fine, because I am happy to carry the torch on. And I get goosebumps thinking about my grandmothers and knitting with me. So hopefully you can help support that, and hopefully you learned something today as well. So I will show you the back of this really quick, and it is simply that easy, and I hope you enjoy. Again, once you get your rhythm down, once you get your pattern down, it becomes easy to flip between the colors. You're only working with 2 colors at one time, even when making this lovely hat right here. And the ergonomic hooks are the key to success in my mind. If you don't have them, that's okay. Just remember to keep your tension nice and loose so they float along the back. And I wish to thank each and every one of you for watching this quick how-to on Continental Knitting and the start of color work for our heart hat. Alright everybody, stay healthy, have fun, and what do we say? Make it a great day to knit and crochet. Goodbye everybody.